This is my buddy Shep Tapasak, and you've heard Joe reference Shep on a couple of other baseballisms, I'm sure. And Shep grew up in Long Island as a Yankee fan.
I always like to preface by I was a Yankee fan when the Yankees had a below 500 record. That was before George Steinbrenner went on his buying sprees and really built the team. But yeah, I mean, I was a big fan at the times when the best players in the Yankee team were the Chris Chambliss and Greg Nettles and Thurman Munson, and you know, they were having a pretty good year if they were a little bit above 500.
See, from my perspective, yeah. I don't know the Yankees as being anything but the powerhouse that,
yeah,
that they are.
I know most people don't. They think about, you know, when Steinbrenner supposedly bought the team, but I guess I'm fortunate enough to, you know, live through the 70s when there wasn't much of a team, and fortunate enough to look back and maybe remember the beginning of really a whole new era in Yankee baseball. When I was a kid, I didn't have a dad, and my older brother Buzz, would often, you know, play wiffle ball and take me to games, and luckily we had a friend who would get us tickets to Yankee games, and he was at the time he was a disc jockey. This friend of ours, Jack Ellsworth, was the name of the disc jockey, and he would get us tickets to the press level of the Yankee games.
Oh, very nice. In Yankee Stadium,
in Yankee Stadium. Actually, at that time, Shea Stadium.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. So the first Yankee games I ever went to were at Shea Stadium.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So where was Yankee Stadium at that time?
It was being built. It was being rebuilt. Yeah, and it was quite a big to-do back then about rebuilding Yankee Stadium.
Right.
Whereas now they're building a completely different stadium, and there is really rebuilding. But
well, how do you feel about that before we go on?
I don't feel any way about it.
So no attachment.
No attachment. No attachment. You know, it's not the stadium. It's the culture. It's the era. It's the things I think we're talking about today in baseballisms. At least for me, I look back and I have some memories that are pretty unique. So
cool.
That's what I was going to share with you today. Is a time in my life that was very important and that I look back on with especially fond memories.
Okay.
And it's funny, I did a little bit of research just to make sure I had my facts straight, that they were in line with my memory. And you know, interestingly enough, 1 week after Alex Rodriguez was born, Billy Martin debuted as the Yankee manager.
Really? Oh, cool.
And this was 1975, August the 2nd, and that was Billy Martin's first stint with the Yankees.
Right, first of many.
First of several. 1 day later is when my brother and I and a friend of mine went to a doubleheader Yankee game at Shea Stadium, Yankee Stadium, and it happened to be Banner Day. And for me as a kid, you know, I mean, I knew my Yankees, I loved them, and I had no attachment to Bill Verdon, who at that time was the Yankee manager. Didn't think any way about him, but I heard about this guy named Billy Martin, who had just been hired. He was famous for something called Billy Ball, which I was going to soon become familiar with. But my brother, you know, about 5 years older than myself, said to me, you know, this is an exciting time. We have to do something, you know, for this Banner Day at Shea Stadium, you know, in memory of, you know, thinking about Billy and what he's bringing to the club. So we didn't know what to do, so we got a big white sheet and just put on it, Billy Can. Meaning Billy can turn this around. At the time, the Yankees were probably about 3 games over 500.
Right.
So 1 day after he was...
so what period of the season was this?
This was August. This was,
really?
He was hired midterm.
Yeah.
They fired Bill Verdon and got Billy in there. And so it was, you know, it was kind of a big event. Hit all the papers.
Right.
And he was known for playing an aggressive style of baseball. And Billy Ball. And at that point, you know, the Yankees needed anything. And so we went for Banner Day, and the Yankees won the first game of the doubleheader.
Right.
And back then we weren't too concerned about terrorism and, you know, how we were going to make sure everybody was safe. So they came on the loudspeaker and said, "Everybody with the banners, come down to to level A3. And everybody just piled down to this gate. And my friend David and I brought our banner down there that said Martin Ken. Didn't have any fancy stickers on it or any videos or anything. It just said Martin Ken on a big white sheet. And we began walking around the field, and we started at the home plate area and got out right about the first bases. And I heard some guy out of the corner of my ear, right at the side say, "Hey, Billy, look at this." And the next thing I know, this guy comes running up to me with a Yankee hat.
Yeah.
Kind of a little guy, probably about my height back then. He goes, "Thanks, fellas." And I'm looking at him. My mouth gaped open. He ran back to the dugout. My friend said to me, "Who was that?" I said, "That was Billy Martin."
Right.
And, to me, that was like an incredible event.
Yeah, absolutely.
Incredible event. And, it's interesting. Years later, got to know a little bit more about this guy, Billy Martin, who you probably know. Well known for fights, well known for not having a good relationship with players like Reggie Jackson. One of the things Billy Martin said towards the end of his Yankee managerial career is he said, "I will never be the most famous Yankee player, but I am the most proudest."
Oh, cool.
And I believe he played and he managed that way.
Absolutely.
He knew he wasn't the best, he knew he wasn't the famous, but he was the proudest. And I think when he put on those pinstripes, he wanted to win as much for the Yankees as he did for himself. I think that's a pretty cool thing. And I think about it in everything I do, and being part of a team.
Right.
You're not just in it for yourself.
But I mentioned my dad numerous times to the baseballism fans out there, and my dad was a huge Billy Martin fan. Hated the Yankees, but a huge Billy Martin fan. And I think that the thing about Billy that resonated with my father is that his desire to win and his effort. He never left anything in the dugout. I mean, he gave when he played and when he managed. He gave it everything he had.
Yeah.
Totally respect.
I mean, Billy Martin. One of the things I learned about him after I started to research him was this is a guy who managed Rod Carew, and in one season where Rod Carew was not a big bunter, not particularly fast, an amazing hitter. I mean, this guy consistently was well over 300.
Yep.
He taught Rod Carew how to steal home base and home plate. And in one season, Rod Carew stole 14 bases, and 7 of them were home plate.
Really?
And that's pretty
cool.
amazing.
That is absolutely
and there's
amazing.
probably many more things that Martin did that I don't know about. But that was the way he played the game.
Cool.
And he did everything he could to win.
Well, excellent.
Yeah.
Well, man, thanks so much for sharing your
cheers.
Cheers to your
Nice to be here.
Story
Here's to
list.
baseballisms.
Yeah, cheers to baseballisms. And cheers to all you guys out there.
And here's to the Yankee fans of the world.
Thanks for joining in, and we'll see you next time. Hit it hard somewhere.